Namaste. A very warm welcome to all the participants in today's webinar. This is our 93rd webinar in our talk series. A special welcome to speaker Antara Hazarika for making the time to be with us here today. Before we introduce our speaker and hand over to Antara ji, a little information for those who were not there earlier and have joined us today. Rtambhara Wellness is a collective of like-minded individuals that look at wellness in a holistic way, not just the body, but the mind as well, and all through the practice of knowledge and wisdom that comes from our ancient Indian scriptures and heritage. We conduct corporate programs and retreats for wellness that look at a personal transformation, and the details are available on our website, rtambharawellness.com. If you would like to be a part of our community, please post your contact details and cell number, email ID. We will add you to our groups. I may now take the opportunity to introduce our speaker for today. Antara Hazarika is a holistic health facilitator and healer at Rtambhara. She is the founder and creator of Tara Superfoods, a wellness startup that creates millet-based cereals and frozen ready-to-eat bars. She believes that a whole grain plant-based diet can not only reverse chronic diseases, but also enable optimal health. Antara is an urban farmer and a slow food activist. She has been immersed in the interdisciplinary well-being fields of Ayurveda, yoga, and Kalaripati since 2005. In today's session, we will have a talk for about 45 to 50 minutes, followed by a question-answer session. Please feel free to post your questions on the chat function, and Antara ji will answer your questions after the talk. So let's get on with today's session and learn more from Antara ji about Rewire, Revitalize, and Renew. Over to you, Antara ji.
Welcome, everyone at Rtambhara and all our friends. This is a session which is triggered by events, I guess, across lives of our friends, of my personal life, as well as changes in science and technology over the last 10 years. And we thought it'd be nice to have a small session, an introduction to some of the ideas. And if today's session goes, is well received, then we could do a proper series where it's more one-on-one and live, where everybody could participate. So this could be seen as an introduction session. So should I begin?
Yes, Antara ji. Yes, please start.
Okay. So the reason this topic came up, the concept of rewiring yourself, rewiring your internal chemistry, as well as why it's important to reinvent and refresh yourself, just like how you would, refresh a flower vase with flowers every day, or you would refresh your bowl of salad every day. You don't want to have the same stale food, right? So what is it that is so intrinsic to human beings that we need something fresh, vital, and living every day? What is it that we could, delve deeper within ourselves? So let me start off by saying that within my personal experience, I've had a lot of ups and downs with regards to my profession, my sort of understanding about life, my learnings, my development over the years. And I have noticed that in the last 15, 16 odd years, there have been a lot of leaps that I could take and a lot of surges in my creative expansion, in my learning and development. And those only happened because I went deeper inside me and questioned myself and said, what is it that I'm not doing? What is it that I can delve deeper into? What is missing, And those questions led me deeper into doing something which altered me for the next 3 years or the next 4 years. And then I saw certain new patterns, new behaviors, new ideas emerge. And therefore, I thought, since I've experienced this myself firsthand, why not go out there and see if a lot of you have done the same thing with yourselves. And the basis of all this is not life experience, but hardcore science. And science over the last 12 to 15 years has come out with very interesting revelations, which we didn't believe when we were teenagers. Because as teenagers, we were told that, after this age, you will not be able to perform certain things. So, just do everything now. And after you're 50, you can't learn many things. And after you're 60, your brain's going to retire and you will be in like retirement mode, etc. So those were the thoughts and philosophies that we were given as teenagers. But in the last 10 to 15 years, there has been tremendous development in the world of brain science, neuroscience as we call it. And they say that our brains are like these plastic, malleable, a sort of like a cauldron full of neurons that fires away. And it fires away faster and more connections are formed when we experience new stimuli, new experiences in our life, which means that the more you keep doing experimental, new activities around yourself, the more your brain's going to adapt, rewire, and start to form new connections, and therefore grow younger, versus the earlier theory of the fact that as you age, your brain is aging, your body is aging, and you cannot be able to perform a lot of functions that you could do as teenagers or young adults. Which is interesting because as we are going ahead and we are aging, all of us are aging, our different parts of our brain, which are responsible for memory, cognition, get activated as we perform different activities. So to give an example, the hippocampus, which is the memory center in our brain, it kind of coordinates between the left and the right brain and helps with memory, cognition, creativity, which means that if we do something new in our, let's say, 40s or 50s, we increase our creativity by 50%. If we give ourselves a new experience, let's say we go to a new country and we start living there in our 60s, we again increase our chances of making that even more powerful. The cognitive function, the spatial abilities, the function of memory, recall, etc. And why is this important? This is important because in our philosophies that we have studied over the years, the brain and the body are connected. They are not separate units. And whatever we do with our body also impacts our brain as the other way around. For instance, we know that yogic science, the pranayam and the asanas have a direct impact on our cerebral state, which means that if we do something to do with our breath, it impacts our emotions. If we do something to do with opening some parts of our body, it impacts our temporal lobe. So there is yogic science, which also says something very similar to the new Western science that's come up in the last 10, 15 years, which is very exciting to know, which also has been saying something very important, that the more you are active, the more you move, the more you're doing things with your body, the more young you are going to be cerebrally, which is an interesting philosophy because as we are aging, we feel that we don't need to use our limbs more, or we don't need to do activities more, because then we are in a state where we are slowing down. But that's not true. The more you put in movement into your space, into your body, the chances of you being able to do a range of things is higher. So for instance, there's been studies done where they have mapped the brains of people who've been walking for a long length of time, like 50 days, and there have been tests on people who have run, and the well-being and the state of the runners versus the walkers has been way higher, which also goes to show that there is a certain exchange that is happening with the neurons being fired because of your body being in an active state. And that's an interesting thing, because the more and more we are in our urban lives, the more and more we are faced with situations where we have to do something. We need to ask ourselves and say, do I do this now, or should I just, you know, take the instead of taking the cab, should I just walk down? Or instead of sending someone for groceries, can I go get the groceries? These are everyday things. So the more you think of these things on an everyday basis, the more you're giving yourself a massage, an exercise. And that is very easy to do in an experiential everyday basis. I mean, it's not rocket science. You can do it. You can test it yourself. You can take your, for now, you can take your thumb and your the index finger, and then you can take the other hand and you can rub both your nails of the thumb together, and you will see something happening in about 5 to 10 seconds. There is an impact being created out here. So what is happening is that you're receiving stimuli from your hands, which is going directly inside your hippocampus and saying something and activating something inside, which is great news, which means that if you move your limbs and if you move your hands more often, there are chances of you being completely active and stimulated all the time. So when we were 10,000 years ago, when we were hunter-gatherers, we were always in survival mode because we had to go to the next prey and hunt for meat or get berries to survive. And that survival mode is still active now when we go for a jog or a run, or when we go and do yoga, or when we go for, let's say, kickboxing classes. And that is very crucial to our well-being and survival, in the sense that it keeps you in a certain state, which is very important for your active conscious life. At the same time, you have the conscious brain and then the unconscious or the subconscious brain. And research is showing that you are conscious 5% of the time, 24 hours a day, whereas 95% is your subconscious brain that is active. It could be during your sleep, it could be during you're doing something on the laptop, you're subconsciously performing your task, or you're cooking, or you're driving. So what does that say? It says that the subconscious brain is exactly what you need to work on if you want something positive to happen to you. If you want to say, oh, I want to change my situation, I don't want this every day, I don't want to be getting up in the morning going to work. Okay, fine. So what do you want to be doing? If you talk to your subconscious mind and say that I imagine myself in the forest and this is what is happening, I'm walking in the forest and I'm going towards the river, and you're working every day on your subconscious mind, whether it's if you're listening to forest sounds, or whether you're going every day to the park in the morning for a walk, you're going closer to your idea of where you're supposed to be. So if you do tell yourself, to your subconscious brain, that this is what you want to achieve, or this is where you want to be, it is 100% possible to do the same. And this is important because when we are stressed and when we are in a situation where we are dealing with a lot of conflict, or there is a lot of problems, personal problems, or there is chronic health issues, or a lot of things which could happen to us daily. If we have these situations on an everyday basis, what are we doing to work on ourselves apart from going to a therapist? So the couple of things that you could do is you could work on rewiring yourself. You could talk to yourself. And this is easier said than done, because most people find it very hard to talk to themselves, or just listen to themselves, or just hear themselves. So the simple things that one could do to start with this process is to talk to ourselves before we fall asleep, to our subconscious brain, and work on finding a solution by the time we wake up in the morning. This is one of the most easiest ways to get to understand and solve a problem within ourselves. But if you were to look at rewiring ourselves completely, 100%, what were the things that we would need to do? So when we say rewiring, it doesn't mean that you wake up in the morning and you say, oh my God, I'm in a new place, in a new country. No, it means that you rewire your situation, your environment, your thought process, and most importantly, your whatever's coming out from here. And you see yourself in new light. And there are different ways to do it. You could do it by changing the way you think. You could do it by being constantly reminded and going into a new environment, which prompts you to start thinking about new patterns and thoughts and experiences. You could also do it by surrounding yourself with people who you think are going to help you to make that change. And there are many other ways in which we can change the programming within our brains. We can change our circuitry. And some of the things I could tell you are, they sound very simple and sort of like childish, but there is only something that you can do. You can try it out. So one of the ways to rewire your chemical circuitry is, of course, to travel. One of the ways is to experience something new, a culture, the food, the lifestyle, embed yourself in that, and then experience yourself anew. Another way could be to completely surrender yourself to meditation. And when it's meditation, it's a loaded gun, because not everybody responds to meditation. And there is a state of being in meditation, as well as there is trying to meditate. So meditation doesn't mean that you have to sit with legs folded and you have to shut your eyes and forget about the world and, like, breathe in and breathe out. Meditation could also mean that you absorb yourself in an act or an activity, for making origami with paper, which consumes you for hours, and where in this act, all you do is focus on the paper, focus on the folds, focus on the shape that you're about to make. You could find yourself something like that. It's basically like finding yourself something to do in which you get lost. It could be origami, it could be working with clay, or something to do with earth, like leaves or stone, which connects you a little more deeper with nature. The other way could be to something that activates your left and right brain. Now, the left and right brain, again, according to science, they are not separate things which produce certain results. Like your left brain means you're logical, and your right means you're more creative. That is, again, very old theories that I feel is not valid anymore. We should look at it more as a whole brain thinking philosophy. Like, if I want to do something that engages my whole brain, and therefore I can be more productive post that activity. And in that context, music is something which has been studied and researched over the years, and people are now saying that it's one of the most important activities when it comes to rewiring and giving yourself that boost which you need, like a refresh. And for that, you could learn an instrument, you could go and sit in music lessons, or you could just listen to music with the best audio system that you have, and you immerse yourself in the act of listening to that song or whatever tune, and it changes the way you think post, let's say, 10 minutes of the track. And what happens to you post that 10 minutes? It's an experiential as well as internal rewiring that happens, and that is to be experienced. One cannot, there is no like research that says that this is the music you have to listen to, and this is what happens to you. So in that context, I thought, since I don't want the talk to be very boring, so I had a video for you, which you could just see, and it gives you a little more focus on why music is important. And maybe you could show the video now.
Yes.
It turns out that while listening to music engages the brain in some pretty interesting activities, playing music is the brain's equivalent of a full-body workout. The neuroscientists saw multiple areas of the brain light up, simultaneously processing different information in intricate, interrelated, and astonishingly fast sequences. But what is it about making music that sets the brain alight? The research is still fairly new, but neuroscientists have a pretty good idea. Playing a musical instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, especially the visual, auditory, and motor cortices. And as with any other workout, disciplined, structured practice in playing music strengthens those brain functions, allowing us to apply that strength to other activities. The most obvious difference between listening to music and playing it is that the latter requires fine motor skills, which are controlled in both hemispheres of the brain. It also combines the linguistic and mathematical precision in which the left hemisphere is more involved, with the novel and creative content that the right excels in. For these reasons, playing music has been found to increase the volume and activity in the brain's corpus callosum, the bridge between the two hemispheres, allowing messages to get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. This may allow musicians to solve problems more effectively and creatively in both academic and social settings. Because making music also involves crafting and understanding its emotional content and message, musicians often have higher levels of executive function, a category of interlinked tasks that includes planning, strategizing, and attention to detail, and requires simultaneous analysis of both cognitive and emotional aspects. This ability also has an impact on how our memory systems work. And indeed, musicians exhibit enhanced memory functions, creating, storing, and retrieving memories more quickly and efficiently. Studies have found that musicians appear to use their highly connected brains to give each memory multiple tags, such as a conceptual tag, an emotional tag, an audio tag, and a contextual tag, like a good internet search engine. So how do we know that all these benefits are unique to music, as opposed to, say, sports or painting? Or could it be that people who go into music were already smarter to begin with? Neuroscientists have explored these issues, but so far they have found that the artistic and aesthetic aspects of learning to play a musical instrument are different from any other activity studied, including other arts. And several randomized studies of participants who showed the same levels of cognitive function and neural processing at the start found that those who were exposed to a period of music learning showed enhancement in multiple brain areas compared to the others. This recent research about the mental benefits of playing music has advanced our understanding of mental function, revealing the inner rhythms and complex interplay that make up the amazing orchestra of our brain.
So basically, the idea of the video was to, I mean, if you do play an instrument or if you do sing, it's a full body workout, and it kind of sends neurotransmitters and activates your complete your whole brain in such a way that it post playing that or post experiencing it, you are being rewired, and you are rewired to experience life again. It's like you press a button and then you put something inside, and it juggles inside you, and then you come out of it. So I mean, I guess people who play instruments and sing or do something with sound would understand this experience better. So of course, apart from just the playing of instrument, I feel experiencing sound or percussion or rhythm and creating rhythm is again a very important, I feel, way to rewire yourself. And therefore you would have seen dancers or people who are into folk music have longer lives than people who have sedentary jobs or, just like normal people. And movement is very intrinsic to our survival, to our existence, because it not just increases our creativity, it improves memory, it helps our focus, it causes less stress. Overall, it causes less stress. And by movement, I don't just mean running or walking or, those basic tasks. I mean like a movement where you are engaging, whether it's your hands or part of your upper body, or whether you're doing something expressively and creatively with yourself, it becomes movement too. And therefore, it's imperative that if we want to find ourselves renewed or refreshed, we find something which moves us completely from the bottom up, apart from the yoga, apart from the exercise, apart from the walks. Is there something else that could do that to us? Of course, there is research which has said now that exercise is primal to our health and well-being. There are tons of papers and research that say that you have to, which is why there's 10,000 steps, that you take 10,000 steps and then, it hits your dopamine levels and you feel good and you want to sweat, and then the sweat makes you feel like you've done something, you've achieved something. And then post that workout, when you get down to work or, some sort of logical thinking, or whether it's some creative task, you find yourself doing it 50% better. So that everybody who exercises can testify to that. But then there are other things like playing video games is not, I feel it's amazing because it increases again your spatial and visual understanding within a video game. You're sort of responding to elements, your stimuli to fight, or the survival mode kicks in when you're inside a video game, which is amazing for whole brain development. And therefore, like, apart from music, exercise, video games, traveling, there are a lot of these things that I've seen people do over years, like playing Sudoku or anagrams or brain games, or like exercising parts of your body, whether it's Qigong or Tai Chi or different healing modalities. Everything contributes to rewiring you. Apart from that, also, it is the air you breathe, the quality of breath, how you breathe, what you eat, that also leads to neuro sort of plasticity of your brain. And now there's a terminology which says, oh, this is a brain food and you should have it, and this will do this to you. It, well, may or may not be true, but we do have some science saying that if you have more flavonoids and omega-3s and brain boosting foods, you do tend to have more focus and clarity, which is why the fads in the last 5 to 6 years of intermittent fasting, which is again research. There are fads which have become research now, and now people are getting on to that, do help with daily functions and increasing memory, focus, etc., as well as longevity and defying age. I think most human beings are interested in not just being young, but also defying or delaying aging as we go along, and using as much or as less, as much variety of stuff in our environment with so that it impacts you and you're more optimal in your daily functions. I guess that's what we all want to do, and we don't want to be going to the hospital, or we don't want to be ending up at the lab, as a specimen. So yeah, I do feel that refreshing yourself and your entire mind-body connection. Of course, the yogic sciences is rich with examples of the asanas and the pranayam. It's like you could go in for like a 12-hour series where we can talk about the asanas and the pranayam and how it impacts your thought process. We could also do like different kriyas that have worked and a lot of people are using it daily, that are impacting the way they perform on a daily basis. So there are simple things that you could, this mudra, that is, it's a very basic mudra, and you just take the tips of each finger and you press for about 5 to 10 seconds. It's called the Hakini mudra. And you kind of, for about 2 to 3 seconds, you feel first the pressure against your hands, your fingertips. And about 5 to 10 seconds, you will see the impact going inwards. This is like testament to the fact that there are neural connections which start and go somewhere, and it leads to something, a new process and a new way of living that process. So I feel there is tons of things around in our environment, but what we engage with and how we choose those elements should work with us and our chemistry. For example, if I have chronic health issues and I start running, it won't work for me. But if I say, okay, I have this and this, and I want to be more optimal in my daily functioning, and then I should use these oils which are higher in fat, it might help me with my clarity and spatial thinking. So yes, we should biohack ourselves, in the sense that, okay, this is what is working for me and I should do more of it. Or if I put myself in a program with 10 other people and say, okay, we are going for a trek, and after the trek we are going to do this activity and this assignment and see the results, you will automatically see the change in the way you function. So it's not very difficult to find those things for yourself. If you're smart enough, there are enough and more, like in the city, you will find enough and more people doing things in the weekends or in the evenings, where they are trying to boost certain ideas of, being more optimal with their performance, daily performance, or just things for longevity and delaying age, or yoga groups where they actually actively do certain breath techniques, which actually impacts the way you think and how you meditate and how you perform. So I feel we just need to get down and dirty with our hands, move a lot, experiment a lot, meet a lot of new groups where we can try new activities, and we could find ways to refresh and rewire ourselves without going inside a lab where we are inside an MRI scan and then it says that, okay, now, so just making light of the fact that there is science and there is research, and it has proven over the years that more movement, more activity, more stimulation, more new environments, more challenges will only help us to rewire ourselves differently and give us more meaning to everyday actions. So for an example in my personal life, because otherwise it just doesn't make sense, I was working in the corporate for a number of years, and I always wanted to do something which challenged me, which made me feel like I'm alive, I'm human, and I can also do this. So when I was in the corporate field, it was pretty much every day going to work, projects and deliverables, etc. And after a period, I felt like I needed that, that boost. I needed to challenge myself. So I decided to take a sabbatical for a year from work and enroll myself in a Kalari Payat space in Trivandrum, which meant that, and at that point I wasn't 6 or 7 years old, I was 28. And for Kalari Payat, you need to have flexible muscles and open body, and you should be able to adapt to a lot of things, which if you start doing Kalari can't happen at 28. So I could have said, oh, I'm 28 and it's going to be tough, so I'll just go and see and come back. But then I decided, okay, I have to push myself. The first 2 months were really hard because I felt like I was in I was being beaten every day by various people, where actually my body was internally hurting. But post 2 months, when I crossed the threshold of pain, the third month onwards, I felt like something is happening inside me, which is not me. It's someone else inside me, and that consciousness, that sensation, that is something you can't describe unless you experience it yourself. And I would urge you that not to do calorie, but to push yourself every 3 years or 2 years is very important, to go in a direction which you feel for you is the right challenge. For someone it could be just gardening, or someone it could be learning cooking, maybe someone who's never gone to the kitchen to learn cooking. And cooking is an art, mind you, because you're it's a sensory experience that you create with different elements. So I feel like that is very important to us as human beings, to constantly be in environments where we are pushed, challenged. We are in that survival mode, and we're like required to think what next, what next. Because otherwise, it's just like if you're going from day to day and saying, oh, my life is so boring, nothing's happening, these people, they are so dumb, my people in my work, nothing's changing. So everything is fine. It's just you who has issues with you. Until you fix that issue with yourself or realign your perspective to life, things will remain the same. So for that to happen, you have to work at a subconscious level. You have to change your wiring. You have to fire yourself in a different way. And maybe then you will start seeing the same things in people in new light. And that is a lot of internal work. And but it's fun and it's interesting, because for that internal work, you have to do a lot of scratching. And that is interesting, because by the time you figure things, a lot of things can happen to you, through your environment, through the people you are surrounded by, or just through a circumstance. So if you're ready for something, things appear. And that's the best thing about being in a connected universe, I feel. And now I'd like to just ask, because I feel like it's not me talking, but I feel I also want to hear from everyone about how they have had experience maybe, or challenges, and how they'd want to do something where they can find themselves in a space they'd love to be, or if they have come across a space like that and would like to share that.
Hi, can I speak?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Meenakshi, please.
Okay. So, Antara, I just wanted to share this with you that, I used to draw and paint when I was young. And, when I was very, very young, meaning maybe in my early years. And then after that, for some strange reason, I couldn't take up a career in art. But so I went on to doing my business management. But now that I have time, I've gone back to art, and, it's really amazing. I've got a teacher that I go to once in a while, a really nice, a nice person who's sort of guided me and helped me with everything. But now I'm actually taking on the challenge of having an exhibition for my art, which is going to happen in the beginning of next year. So,
wow.
yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that's what that's what I'm working on. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I love learning. So, I'm always challenging myself to learn something new or to do something, So and I find that, that's what keeps me alive and keeps me, wanting more. And then, life seems so sort of joyful, meaningful when you're actually learning something. So I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, that's awesome, because even though like when you go to a school and you learn something, whether it's a skill or a hobby, or like it could be a profession, but when you do something, like when you said you did it in your youth, and then you're revisiting that again, you find yourself a different person through it, right? It's you haven't changed, it's the same person, but your experience
I
of
find myself a different person, but sorry.
the experience of doing that, I mean, it's like it was always inside you and you just revisited that, and then it's like it's igniting you in a different way, is what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm challenging myself to do other things, and I'm experimenting a lot with different materials like soft pastels and acrylic and charcoal and all kinds of mediums. And it's so interesting because I didn't do that when I was a kid. I mean, we just play plain paper and paint and that's it. But now it's so much more interesting, and there's so much that's happened also in the art world that there's always something to learn. Even if you think you know it well, there's still something more to learn.
yeah, I mean that you feel like this whole magnanimity of things, and then you feel like you're there, but there's like oceans and oceans of things to discover, and that's an amazing feeling, I feel. And the fact that you've taken the next
Yeah.
step and showing your work, I mean, that's amazing, because then you're sharing your work and then you're opening out yourself, and then you're connecting again with a lot of artists maybe, or creators. That's an amazing thing too. Where you're connecting, not just doing it alone,
Yeah.
like an artist in your own studio.
Yeah, that's right. You've actually nailed it. Yeah. So yes, it feels so nice to be sort of connected with everybody around, and to also even show the art. So I was actually saying to my son that I'll just paint and I'll put it up at home. And he said, no, share it with people. Share everything that you do. Make them happy also. So that was a
Yeah.
beautiful thing he told me. So, which is why we've decided now to do an art exhibition.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you so much, Antara. Thank you.
yeah. Antara, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rashmi from Mumbai. So I just wanted to share my view with regards to, our hobbies. As we grow, we start working, we get so busy with our life, professionally, personally, that we stop doing all of these things. But I personally feel that, all these three things, whether it is drawing, it is singing or dancing, whenever you start doing any of this, you start, getting your emotions out is something that comes up. Like, if you like dance, it comes out in emotions. Like, when you're happy, you'll play a peppy song and dance. And when you're sad, you will rather, put a slow music and, dance on that song. And drawing as well, painting as well. Like, your paintings are mostly based on your imagination, your experiences. So it basically helps you get in a zone where while you're working in your subconscious mind, there's something that's definitely bothering you, or, something that helps you, something that makes you happy. So I feel definitely, this is just a way where people can express emotions, and it definitely helps an individual in every aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not just, like you said,
Yeah.
your subconscious is at work while you're at play.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing and you're involved in that act or activity, but there is some messaging going from your hand to your brain. And like, for example, if you are thinking of something that went wrong 3 days ago, you would find a way to talk to yourself or resolve it while you're at that, forming that. And it's therapeutic. It kind of releases you, and something that you can't say you do by that act, or by moving or dancing.
Yes.
You are part of that resolution.
It's just expressing. There are many people who don't express, some are introverts. This definitely helps. This is what I really personally feel.
Yeah, which is why nowadays we have a lot of, apart from going to, when you have either a mental issue or a health issue and you want to something, you go to either a shrink or a music therapist, or but we should have more of dance therapists and We should have visual therapists and drama therapists maybe who work in different layers of emotions, how to get that going for you.
Okay, my little one is crying, sorry. So I'll have to just unmute the call.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank all the participants and Antaraji for your valuable presence this evening. At Rtambhara, we look forward to your presence on Select Fridays, where we bring to you interesting topics on holistic wellness and the arts, delivered by a host of distinguished, knowledgeable speakers. The upcoming program details will be posted on our WhatsApp groups and social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.